Warden Krass had been running the Tythos Penitentiary for 37 years. The penitentiary sat on an asteroid in deep space, far from any inhabited world. It was the most secure prison in the Kytheran Federation. It held the most dangerous criminals from 40 different species: murderers, traitors, terrorists, war criminals, beings whose crimes had been so severe that no other prison in the galaxy would accept them. They were all sent to Tythos. Once they arrived, they did not leave. The penitentiary had no parole system, no early release, no appeal process. You arrived. You served your sentence. You died there, eventually. When your sentence was complete, or when your body could no longer continue, Warden Krass was a Kytheran. His species was tall and powerful, with thick-scaled hides and yellow eyes. His own scales had faded from their original bright green to a dull gray over the course of his career. He was old now by Kytheran standards. He was approaching the end of his service. He had been planning to retire next year. He had a small estate prepared on his homeworld. He had grandchildren he wanted to see grow up. He was ready to be done with the work of breaking dangerous beings into compliance. But then, 2 days ago, a new prisoner had arrived, and Warden Krass had received orders that changed his plans. The orders had come from the highest levels of the Federation Intelligence Service. They were direct. They were specific. They were unusual. The new prisoner was human, the first human ever to be sent to Tythos. The orders did not say what crime he had committed. The orders did not say where he had come from. The orders did not say how the Federation had captured him. The orders simply said that the prisoner was to be broken, completely, thoroughly. The intelligence service wanted information from him. They wanted his cooperation. They wanted him to renounce his species and pledge loyalty to the Federation. They wanted Warden Krass to use whatever methods were necessary to achieve this outcome. The orders had been clear. The prisoner must be broken. There would be no other acceptable result. Warden Krass had read the orders 3 times. He had then sat in his office for a long time, thinking. He had broken many prisoners over the past 37 years. He knew how to do it. He had techniques. He had methods. He had a staff of trained interrogators and psychologists. He had drugs. He had isolation chambers. He had every tool that a modern penal facility could possess. He should have been able to break the human. He should have been able to break any single being, given enough time. That was what he had told the intelligence service when they had contacted him to confirm his acceptance of the assignment. He had told them that he could break the prisoner within 6 months. He had committed to this timeline with absolute confidence. He had been a fool to commit to it. He just did not know that yet. The human prisoner was a man named James Hayes. He was approximately 40 standard years old by his species' reckoning. He had been brought to the penitentiary in heavy restraints, surrounded by armed guards. He had been processed normally. He had been stripped of his clothing. He had been examined for hidden devices. He had been issued the standard prisoner uniform, a simple gray garment. He had been assigned to a cell in the maximum security wing. The cell was small. It had no window. The lighting was harsh. The temperature was deliberately uncomfortable. The food was nutritionally adequate, but deliberately tasteless. Hayes had accepted all of this without comment. He had not resisted the processing. He had not asked any questions. He had not made any demands. He had simply allowed himself to be processed, like any new prisoner. But there was something about him that the staff had noticed immediately. Something that had set him apart from every other prisoner who had ever arrived at Tythos. He was calm. Not the false calm of a being who was suppressing terror. Not the resigned calm of a being who had accepted their fate. Not the empty calm of a being whose mind had retreated into itself. James Hayes was calm in a way that suggested he was not actually afraid. He had not been afraid when they had restrained him. He had not been afraid when they had locked him in his cell. He was not afraid now. On his second day at Tythos, he was not afraid at all. Warden Krass had decided to interview him personally before beginning the breaking process. He had wanted to see this human for himself. He had wanted to understand what kind of being he was dealing with. On the third day, Hayes was escorted to Krass's office. The escort consisted of 4 armed guards. Hayes wore restraints on his wrists and ankles. He shuffled into the office between the guards. He did not look around. He did not look at Krass. He simply moved as he was directed, in the careful way of a prisoner who knew the rules. The guards forced him into the chair across from Krass's desk. They locked his restraints to the chair. They stepped back to flank him. Krass studied the human. Hayes was smaller than Krass had expected. The Kytheran intelligence reports had described humans as average-sized for a sapient species. Hayes was thin, but not malnourished. He had short dark hair, he had brown skin, he had brown eyes. He had a small scar on his left cheek. His face was lined with the marks of a being who had lived an active life. He did not look like a dangerous criminal. He looked like an ordinary middle-aged man. But Warden Krass had learned, over the years, that appearance meant nothing. "Prisoner Hayes," he began. He spoke in standard Federation language. The translator on his desk would render his words into Hayes's native tongue. "I am Warden Krass. I run this facility. I want to speak with you about your situation." Hayes looked up. He met Krass's eyes. He did not flinch. He did not look away. "Hello, Warden Krass. I am pleased to meet you." Krass blinked. He had not expected a polite greeting. "I have been informed that you have committed crimes against the Federation. I have not been told the specifics. The intelligence service has requested that you cooperate with their inquiries. They believe you have information that could be valuable to them. They have asked me to facilitate this cooperation. Do you understand what this means? I understand. And do you intend to cooperate?" Hayes was silent for a moment. Then he spoke, quietly. "Warden Krass, I will not cooperate with the intelligence service. I will not provide them with any information. I will not renounce my species. I will not pledge loyalty to the Federation. I am sorry. I know this is not what you wanted to hear, but I will not lie to you. I respect you too much for that." Krass stared at him. "You respect me? You have known me for 30 seconds. I have studied you for the past 6 months." Krass felt something cold move down his spine. "What do you mean?" "I mean that I have been preparing for this conversation for 6 months. I have read your service record. I have studied your career. I have analyzed your methods. I know how many prisoners you have broken. I know which techniques you have used. I know the names of your staff. I know your wife's name. I know your 3 children's names. I know your 7 grandchildren's names. I know that you are planning to retire next year to your estate on Kytheron Prime. I know that your wife's mother is ill, and you are concerned about her health. I know that you struggle sometimes with the moral weight of what you do for a living, although you have made peace with it by telling yourself that the beings you break deserve their fate." Krass could not speak. He stared at the human across from him. He felt, for the first time in many years, genuinely uncertain. "How," he finally managed to say, "how could you know any of that?" "Warden Krass, I have not been sent here as a prisoner. I have been sent here as an operative. My government has been preparing this operation for 2 years. I volunteered for it. I have been training for 6 months. I know everything about you, this facility, and your staff because the Earth Intelligence Service has been gathering information about Tythos for the past 5 years. We have a complete picture of this place. We have a complete picture of you. I am here because I am the agent best suited to operate in this environment. You are not a prisoner. I am a prisoner. The Federation captured me 3 months ago exactly as they were supposed to. I made certain that I would be captured during a covert operation in Federation space. I made it look like I was an unfortunate scout pilot who had been caught spying. The Federation Intelligence Service believed the cover story. They believed they had captured a useful asset. They believed they could break me and gain access to Earth's military secrets. They believed all of this because I made them believe it. I gave them exactly the prisoner they wanted to find." Krass stood up from his desk. He paced slowly. He stopped at the window of his office, which looked out at the asteroid's surface. He turned back to Hayes. Why are you telling me this? Why would you reveal your operation to me? Because I am offering you something, Warden Krass. I am offering you a choice. A choice that I believe you will want to consider very carefully. What choice? In 6 months, this prison will no longer exist. Krass stared at him. What did you say? In 6 months, the Tythos Penitentiary will be destroyed. Either gradually, through the operations I will be conducting from within, or quickly, through a direct attack by Earth Defense Forces. The choice of which method is used will depend on circumstances. But the prison will be destroyed. 6 months from today, the Federation will lose this facility. The prisoners held here will be released or relocated. The staff will be killed, captured, or relocated, depending on their level of cooperation. This is going to happen, Warden Krass. It is inevitable. I am here to make sure it happens. This is impossible. We have defenses. We have. I know your defenses, Warden. I have studied them. They are good. They were designed by competent engineers. They are exactly what you would expect for a maximum security prison in deep space. They are also entirely inadequate to stop what is coming. We have technology your engineers did not anticipate. We have intelligence about your systems that you did not know existed. We have agents already in place in this facility, in positions that you would not believe. Krass felt his legs become weak. He sat back down at his desk. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to have a choice, Warden. The other staff members will not be given this choice. They will simply be killed or captured when the operation completes. But you, Warden Krass, are different from the rest of your staff. You are not a fanatic. You are not a sadist. You are a professional administrator who has spent 37 years running a difficult facility because someone needed to do it. You have done your job competently and as humanely as the system would allow. You are, in many ways, the best example of what an honest civil servant looks like. And the choice, Warden Krass, is this. You can continue to serve the Federation. You can report this conversation to the intelligence service. They will believe you. They will mobilize their forces. They will try to find me before I complete my mission. They will fail. We have planned for this. But you will have done your duty. And when this prison is destroyed in 6 months, you will die with it. You will not see your grandchildren grow up. You will not retire to your estate. Your wife will be a widow. Your children will lose their father. Your mother-in-law will lose her son-in-law. Your family will mourn. Or you can do nothing. You can keep this conversation a secret. You can let me operate. You can pretend to break me when the intelligence service asks for updates. You can lie. You can deceive your superiors. You can be, for the next 6 months, a willing participant in my operation. In exchange, I will guarantee your safety when the prison is destroyed. I will arrange for you to be transferred out of the facility before the final action. You will be relocated to a place of safety. Your retirement plans will continue. Your family will be safe. You will live. You are asking me to betray the Federation. I am asking you to choose between dying for the Federation in 6 months and living to retire next year. Krass stared at the human. He could not believe what he was hearing. This being, who had been at his prison for less than 3 days, was offering him a choice between his species and his life. The being was completely calm about it. He was not threatening. He was not pleading. He was simply offering the choice, as if he were discussing a routine business transaction. How do I know any of this is real? You could be lying. You could be a normal prisoner who has somehow gathered information about me from other sources. You could be testing me. You could be Warden Krass. I will prove that what I am telling you is real. Please come to your secure communication terminal in your private quarters at 2200 hours tonight. There will be a transmission waiting for you. It will be from someone you will recognize. The transmission will confirm everything I have told you. After you have seen it, you will know that I am telling the truth. Then you can make your choice. 2200 hours, my private quarters. Yes. Krass nodded slowly. He gestured to the guards. Take him back to his cell. The guards lifted Hayes from the chair. They escorted him out of the office. Hayes did not look back. He did not say anything else. He simply walked. In his careful prisoner shuffle between the guards, Krass sat alone in his office for a very long time. He tried to think. He tried to process what he had just been told. He tried to convince himself that the human was bluffing, that this was some kind of elaborate manipulation, that the threats were empty, that the offers were lies. He could not convince himself. The human's confidence had been absolute. The human had known too many specific details about Krass's personal life. The human had spoken with the calm certainty of someone who knew exactly what was going to happen, because he had planned it himself. Krass went to his private quarters at 21:50 hours. He sat at his secure communication terminal. He waited. At exactly 2200 hours, the terminal beeped. A transmission was waiting. He activated it. The face that appeared on the screen was a human face, a woman. She was middle-aged. She had gray streaks in her dark hair. She wore a military uniform with insignia that Krass did not recognize. Her eyes were the same calm brown as Hayes's eyes. But more importantly, the woman was sitting in a place that Krass recognized. She was sitting in his own home, in his own living room, on Kytherin Prime. The painting his wife had bought last year was hanging on the wall behind her. The decorative pottery his daughter had made as a school project was visible on a shelf to her right. The human was in his house. Warden Krass. I am General Sarah Chen of Earth Intelligence. I apologize for the intrusion into your home. I am here as a courtesy to inform you that everything Agent Hayes has told you today is the truth. Your home has been under our control for the past 3 days. We have not harmed your family. They are safe. They are sleeping normally upstairs. They do not know that we are here. They will never know that we were here, unless circumstances require it. We are showing you this transmission to demonstrate that our reach extends far beyond your prison. We can be anywhere we need to be. We have been anywhere we needed to be. Krass stared at the screen. His hands were trembling. Warden Krass, the choice Agent Hayes offered you is a real choice. Your family is currently safe. Your wife is asleep upstairs in your bedroom. She is breathing peacefully. Your mother-in-law is in the guest room. She is recovering from her illness. Your children and grandchildren are in their own homes. They are all safe. They will remain safe if you choose to cooperate with Agent Hayes. They will also remain safe if you choose to report this conversation to the Federation. Although you yourself will die in 6 months when our operation completes. The choice is about you, Warden Krass, not your family. Your family is not in danger from us regardless of what you choose. We are not the kind of people who threaten families. We are simply demonstrating that we have the capability to reach them, so that you understand we have the capability to do anything else we need to do. The screen showed a wider view of the room. Krass could see now that the woman was alone. There were no other operatives visible. She was sitting in his living room, drinking what appeared to be tea from one of his wife's favorite cups, having a calm conversation with him across 2,000 light-years of space. Take some time, Warden. Think carefully. Make the choice that is right for you. Agent Hayes will continue to operate in the prison regardless of your choice. Your decision affects only your own survival. We hope you choose wisely. Earth out. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Krass sat in his quarters for a very long time. He did not sleep that night. He sat at his terminal, and he thought about everything he had been told. He thought about his family. He thought about his 37 years of service. He thought about the Federation. He thought about what it would mean to betray the empire that had employed him his entire adult life. By morning, he had made his decision. He went to work as usual. He met with his senior staff for the morning briefing. He gave the standard orders. He approved the standard reports. He did everything that a warden was supposed to do on a normal morning. None of his staff noticed anything different about him. At his lunch break, he requested a private meeting with the prisoner Hayes. The guards delivered Hayes to his office. Prisoner Hayes, Krass said, I have made my decision. And I will cooperate with your operation." Hayes nodded. There was no obvious sign of triumph on his face, no smile, no expression of satisfaction. He simply nodded. "Thank you, Warden. I am grateful. I think you have made the right choice. For yourself and for your family. What do you need from me?" "Information, access, the ability to operate freely within the facility. I need to be transferred to the lower security wing, where I can move around more easily. I need to have access to certain databases and systems. I need to be able to communicate with other prisoners without surveillance. This will be extremely difficult to arrange without raising suspicion. I know, but you are a clever administrator. You will find ways. The other staff trust you. They will not question your decisions. Make small adjustments, slowly. Over weeks, make the changes seem to be part of routine operations. By the time anyone notices anything unusual, it will be too late. And what will you do during the next 6 months? That is not something I should tell you, Warden. The less you know about my specific operations, the safer you will be. I will simply ask you for what I need when I need it. You will provide it. We will work together. At the end of 6 months, the operation will complete. You will be transferred to a safe location. Your family will be relocated to Earth or to one of our allied worlds. You will live out your retirement in peace. And my homeworld? My people? Hayes was silent for a moment. Warden, I am sorry. I cannot promise you that your homeworld will be safe. The Federation has made many enemies. The destruction of this prison will be the beginning of a larger reckoning. Other facilities will follow. Other operations will be conducted. The Federation has built its power on the systematic abuse of beings who cannot defend themselves. We are here to dismantle that system. I am sorry for the cost this will impose on the Kytheran people. They will have a choice. They can transform their society peacefully, or they can resist and face consequences. Whatever they choose, the era of Federation dominance is ending. I cannot change that. Krass nodded slowly. I understand. You should also understand, Warden, that you personally have done nothing to deserve what is coming for your civilization. The collapse of the Federation is not your fault. It is the fault of the leadership that chose oppression. You have simply been a competent administrator within an oppressive system. You will not be punished for that. You will be allowed to live in peace. Your family will be allowed to live in peace. We will not hold you accountable for the sins of your government. Thank you. You are welcome now. Let us begin our work. The next 6 months were the strangest of Krass's life. He continued to run the prison as he always had. He continued to meet with his staff. He continued to write his reports. He continued to do everything that the Federation expected of him. But behind the scenes, he was working with Hayes. He arranged the transfer to a lower security wing. He provided access to databases. He turned off surveillance in specific areas at specific times. He allowed Hayes to communicate freely with other prisoners. Hayes worked methodically. He met with prisoners individually. He spoke with them at length. He learned about their crimes, their backgrounds, their motivations. He identified the prisoners who would be useful to his operation. He identified the ones who would be obstacles. He identified the ones who could be left alone. The prison held 2,000 prisoners. Hayes did not need all of them. He needed approximately 50. Those 50 were prisoners who had been imprisoned by the Federation for crimes that were not actually crimes. By Earth's standards, they were political prisoners, dissidents, beings who had spoken out against Federation policies, beings who had refused to serve in Federation wars, beings who had been imprisoned for being members of the wrong political faction. They were not dangerous criminals. They were victims of an oppressive system. Hayes worked with these 50 prisoners over the course of 6 months. He prepared them for what was coming. He taught them what they would need to know when the prison was destroyed. He helped them prepare to be relocated to Earth, or to one of Earth's allied worlds. He gave them hope. He also worked with a small number of guards. Some of them had been Earth agents who had infiltrated the staff years earlier. Others were guards who had been turned by careful approach and demonstrated loyalty. The Earth network within Tythos was larger than Krass had realized. There had been agents in his prison for years, gathering information, preparing for the operation. The 6 months passed slowly, then quickly. Then it was almost over. In the final week, Hayes met with Krass one last time in his office. Warden, the operation is ready. We will move tomorrow at the standard duty cycle change. You will be evacuated at 0600 hours before the action begins. An Earth shuttle will arrive at your private docking bay. You will board it. It will take you to a transport ship in orbit. The transport ship will take you and your family to Earth, where you will be processed for resettlement. My family. They are not here. No, they are at home on Kytherin Prime. Our agents are with them now. They have been preparing your family for evacuation. They will explain the situation when the time comes. They will reassure your family that you are safe and that they will see you again very soon. Your family will board another transport from Kytherin Prime within hours of your departure from Tythos. You will meet them on Earth in approximately 3 weeks. Krass nodded. He felt a strange mix of relief and grief. He had made his decision 6 months ago. He had committed to this path. He was going to live. His family was going to live. They were going to have their retirement together. But he was leaving behind everything he had known. His career, his culture, his homeworld, the civilization that had raised him. What will happen to the other prisoners? The political prisoners will be evacuated alongside you. They will also be relocated to Earth or to allied worlds. They will be given full citizenship and the opportunity to build new lives. The actual criminals, the ones who were imprisoned for real crimes, will be transferred to other prison facilities. We are not releasing dangerous beings into the galaxy. We are simply taking them out of Federation custody and placing them in custody of more humane systems. And the prison itself, the facility, it will be destroyed. The infrastructure will be wiped out. We do not want the Federation to have the option of rebuilding their operations here. The asteroid will remain, but the prison facility will be gone. What about the staff? Hayes was silent for a moment. The staff who have not cooperated with us will be given a choice when the operation begins. They can surrender peacefully and be transported to a relocation facility. They will be questioned, but they will not be harmed. They can attempt to resist, in which case they will be neutralized. Most of them, I hope, will choose to surrender. They are professionals. They will recognize the futility of resistance when they see our forces. But some of them may choose to fight. Those will die. You are giving them a choice. We always give a choice, Warden. We try to be the kind of organization that gives our enemies the chance to surrender. We do not enjoy killing. We do not seek revenge. We seek to end the system. Beings who participate in that system can choose to step away from it without further consequence. Those who choose to fight for it accept what comes. Krass thought about this. He thought about his staff. Some of them he liked. Some of them he did not. Most of them were ordinary beings doing ordinary work in an extraordinary system. They would probably surrender. He hoped they would. He did not want to imagine them dying because they could not adapt. Warden, there is one more thing I should tell you. Yes? After this operation completes, I will not be returning to my normal duties. I have been authorized to retire from active operations. I have served the Earth Intelligence Service for 20 years. I have completed many missions. This will be my last one. I am also going to retire. Where will you go? I have not decided. I have a daughter. She is 15 years old. She lives with her mother on Earth. Her mother and I are divorced, but we are still friends. I have not been able to spend much time with my daughter over the past several years because of my work. I am going to spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that. I am going to be a father. I am going to teach her how to drive a hover car. I am going to help her with her schoolwork. I am going to take her to see her grandparents. I am going to do all the normal things that I have not been able to do. That sounds like a good plan. It is. It is the plan I should have made years ago. They sat in silence for a moment. Warden Krass, I want to thank you. For what? For making the choice you made 6 months ago. You could have reported me to the Federation. You could have served your government as you had for 37 years. You chose differently. You chose to cooperate with someone you barely knew, based on information you could have doubted. You took a risk. You bet on me. You bet on us. Your bet has paid off. Many lives will be saved because of your choice. Many beings will be freed because of your cooperation. You should know that. You should carry that with you when you start your retirement. I cannot say that I am proud of what I did, Hayes. I betrayed my people. I betrayed my government. I helped to destroy an institution that I had spent my life maintaining. You betrayed an institution that did not deserve your loyalty. You served a system that imprisoned political dissidents and innocent beings. You ran a facility that broke people for the convenience of intelligence services. The fact that you did your job well does not change what the job was. By cooperating with us, you ended that system. You made the galaxy a better place. The fact that you also saved yourself and your family is a happy coincidence. But it is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you helped end an evil that you had been part of for 37 years. I do not feel like a hero. You are not a hero, Warden. You are something better. You are a being who recognized when his loyalty was misplaced, and who chose to act on that recognition even when it cost him everything he had known. That is rarer than heroism. That is wisdom. There is no shame in it. The day of the operation arrived. Krass woke early. He packed a small bag with the few items he wanted to take with him. Photographs of his family. A book his wife had given him on their wedding day. A small carved stone that his eldest grandchild had given him for his last birthday. Nothing else. He went to his office one last time. He sat at his desk. He looked around at the room where he had worked for 37 years. He felt something between grief and relief. He had spent so much of his life here. He was glad to be leaving. He was sad that he was leaving. At 0550 hours, his communication device chimed. It was a message from Hayes. Warden, the shuttle is here. Please proceed to your private docking bay. We will see each other again on the other side. Krass took his bag. He walked out of his office for the last time. He walked through the corridors of the prison. He passed his staff on their morning duties. They greeted him as they always did. He greeted them back. He kept walking. He reached his private docking bay. The Earth shuttle was waiting. It was a small craft, sleek and dark. The pilot was a human. She was wearing a flight suit. She smiled at Krass as he approached. Warden Krass, welcome. Please come aboard. We will be in orbit within 15 minutes. Krass boarded the shuttle. He sat in one of the passenger seats. He buckled himself in. The pilot closed the doors. The shuttle lifted off. It cleared the asteroid. It entered space. It accelerated toward the transport ship in orbit. As they pulled away from the asteroid, Krass looked back at the prison. He could see the entire facility from this distance. The administrative buildings, the prisoner wings, the guard towers, the defensive systems, the asteroid base that had been his world for 37 years. He watched it grow smaller. He thought about the operation that was about to begin. He thought about his staff who were waking up now, beginning their normal duties, unaware that their world was about to end. He thought about the prisoners who would soon be freed. He thought about James Hayes, the human prisoner who had not been a prisoner, the being who had walked into Krass's office and offered him a choice, the being who had given him a future when his future could have ended in 6 months of dedication to a system that did not deserve his loyalty. The shuttle docked with the transport ship. Krass disembarked. He was greeted by Earth officers. He was taken to a small but comfortable cabin. He was given food and water. He was told that the transport would depart for Earth within the hour. He sat in his cabin. He waited. 2 hours later, the operation began. Krass could see it on the cabin's viewing screen. 3 Earth Defense Force warships emerged from faster-than-light travel near Tythos. They positioned themselves around the asteroid. They opened communications with the prison staff. They issued an ultimatum. Surrender within 30 minutes or face destruction. Some of the staff surrendered. Most of them, actually. They had recognized the Earth ships immediately. They had understood what was happening. They had chosen survival. A small number of staff refused to surrender. They activated the prison's defensive systems. They prepared to fight. The Earth ships responded with surgical precision. They disabled the defensive systems. They sent in boarding teams. The boarding teams neutralized the remaining staff. Within 2 hours, the prison was secured. Boarding teams entered the prisoner wings. They began the process of identifying which prisoners would be evacuated and which would be transferred to other facilities. The 50 political prisoners that Hayes had identified were brought out first. They were boarded onto a separate transport. They would be taken to Earth. After all the prisoners had been processed, the boarding teams withdrew. The Earth warships moved into position. They fired their primary weapons at the asteroid. The prison facility was systematically destroyed. The administrative buildings, the prisoner wings, the guard towers, all of it. Within an hour, nothing remained but a scarred asteroid with no functional structures. The operation was complete. Hayes was on the transport ship with Krass. He came to visit Krass's cabin after the operation finished. He sat down across from the former warden. "It is done. Yes. Are you all right, Warden Krass?" "I do not know. I feel many things. Grief, relief, confusion, anger, sadness, hope, all of these at once. I am not sure what I feel. That is normal. You have just lived through one of the most significant moments of your life. It will take time to process. You will feel many things over the coming weeks and months. Allow yourself to feel them. Do not try to suppress anything. The process of becoming someone new takes time. And my family? They are safe. They are on another transport 2 days behind us. They will reach Earth shortly after we do. You will see them. You will explain what has happened. They will need to process this too. They will have their own grief and confusion and anger. But they are safe. That is the most important thing." "Thank you, Hayes. You are welcome, Warden, although you are not a warden anymore." Krass smiled just slightly. "What am I now? You are Krass. You are simply Krass. You are the being you will become from this point forward, whatever that is. You will get to discover that. It is one of the gifts you have given yourself by making the choice you made 6 months ago." The transport ship reached Earth 2 weeks later. Krass was taken through the standard refugee processing. He was assigned to a small apartment in a quiet town on the eastern coast of one of the continents. He was given a stipend that would support him while he adjusted. He was provided with language tutors, cultural orientation, and access to medical and psychological support. His family arrived 3 weeks after he did. They had been deeply confused by the sudden evacuation. They had been frightened. They had been angry. But Krass had been allowed to communicate with them during their journey, and he had explained what had happened. By the time they arrived on Earth, they had begun to understand. They were still processing. They would be processing for years. But they were together. They were safe. They settled into their new lives slowly. Krass's wife, Lyra, adapted more quickly than he had expected. She had always been the more flexible one between them. She started studying Earth's languages. She made friends with the human neighbors. She began to enjoy the strange new world they found themselves in. Their children and grandchildren visited them on Earth several times over the years. The grandchildren especially loved the planet. It was very different from their homeworld, but in interesting ways. The humans welcomed them warmly. The community accepted them as part of the diverse population of refugees that Earth had been receiving for decades. Krass himself took longer to adjust. He spent much of his first year on Earth in his apartment, reading, thinking, walking by the ocean. He had nightmares about the prison. He had moments of doubt about what he had done. He had moments of guilt about the staff who had died because they had refused to surrender. He worked through all of these slowly, with the help of a counselor who specialized in refugees from oppressive systems. Eventually, he found his footing. He began volunteering at a local refugee assistance center. He helped other beings from the Federation who had escaped after the collapse of the larger imperial structure. He used his administrative experience to help organize relief efforts. He used his understanding of Federation culture to help refugees adjust to life on Earth. He found, to his surprise, that he was good at this. He was good at helping other beings build new lives in a strange world. He was good because he had done it himself. He understood what they were going through. He worked at the Refugee Assistance Center for the rest of his life. He died on Earth at the age of 247, surrounded by his family. He was buried in a small cemetery near his apartment, overlooking the ocean he had come to love. The Tythos Penitentiary had been destroyed 20 years earlier. The Kytheran Federation had collapsed soon after, as Earth Defense Forces and their allies had dismantled the larger imperial structure that the prison had served. The 50 political prisoners that Hayes had identified had all received Earth's citizenship and built new lives. Many of them had become advocates for refugees from other oppressed systems. Some of them had become teachers. Sharing their experiences with new generations, the galaxy had changed. The Federation was gone. In its place, the former imperial worlds had become independent states, struggling with the legacy of generations of oppression, but moving slowly toward democratic governance. Earth had not conquered them. Earth had simply ended the imperial structure that had held them together. The peoples of those worlds had been left to figure out what came next on their own. Many of them were succeeding. James Hayes lived a quiet life with his daughter after his retirement. He taught her to drive a hover car. He helped her with her schoolwork. He took her to see her grandparents. He did all the things he had promised himself he would do. His daughter grew up to become a teacher. She had her own family. Hayes lived to see his grandchildren born. He died at the age of 103. In his own bed, in his small house in the countryside. His obituary did not mention his career in intelligence. It did not mention the operations he had conducted. It did not mention the prisons he had destroyed or the regimes he had toppled. It mentioned only that he had been a loving father and grandfather, a member of a small farming community, and that he was survived by his daughter and her family. That was how he had wanted to be remembered. As a father, not as an agent, not as a hero. Just as a father who had come home to do the most important job of his life. Some heroes get statues. Some get books written about them. Some get memorials in capital cities. James Hayes wanted none of those things. He wanted only to be remembered as having loved his daughter well. He had succeeded in that. His daughter had loved him back. His grandchildren had loved their grandfather. He had lived a full life, and he had died at peace. That was enough. It had to be enough. It was perhaps more than enough. The work of changing the galaxy is not done by single beings. It is done by many beings working together over generations, each contributing what they can. James Hayes had contributed his 6 months at the Tythos Penitentiary. He had contributed 20 years of intelligence work. He had contributed the destruction of a prison and the collapse of a federation. He had also contributed 30 more years of being a father and a grandfather and a neighbor in a small community. All of those contributions mattered. Together, they had made a life that was worth living. A life that had served his species. A life that had also served himself, in the end, by giving him the family and the peace he had always wanted. That was the story of Agent James Hayes, the human prisoner who had walked into the office of the alien warden and offered him a choice. The being who had given a 37-year veteran administrator a chance to choose life over loyalty to a system that did not deserve his loyalty. The agent who had quietly, methodically, over 6 months, dismantled an institution of cruelty from within. And it was also the story of Warden Krass, the being who had made the difficult choice, the being who had chosen wisdom over duty, the being who had betrayed his government to save his family and his soul, the being who had spent his retirement years helping other beings escape from the same kinds of systems he had once served. 2 beings. from two different species, bound together by a single choice made in a small office on an asteroid prison. The galaxy had been better for that choice. The galaxy would always be better for that choice. For as long as there were beings who remembered the story of the human prisoner and the alien warden, the lesson would continue. The lesson was simple. Sometimes the most important choices you make in your life are made in single moments. Sometimes the difference between a life of regret and a life of peace is a single decision, made in a single conversation, with a single being who offered you a way out. If such a moment comes for you, take it. Take the way out. Choose wisdom. Choose your family. Choose your soul. The empires that demand your loyalty do not deserve it as much as you think they do. The beings who offer you a way out, even at great risk to themselves, are giving you something more valuable than any empire can offer. They are giving you the chance to become someone better than you have been. Take it. Always take it. That was what Warden Krass had done. That was what every being should do. When the moment comes, the prison was destroyed. The Federation collapsed. The galaxy changed. And it all started with one human prisoner who knew the value of giving someone a choice. That was the real lesson of the Tythos operation. That was the legacy that James Hayes had left behind. That was the gift he had given to Krass, and to the political prisoners, and to the Federation worlds that had been freed, and to the entire galaxy that had been touched by the ripples of his work. The gift of a choice. The chance to be better than what you had been. That was enough. It had always been enough. It would always be enough. Forever and always, until the end of time.